What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest piece of One Piece, chapter 1098, and I was wrong. And nobody's going to call me out on it because we all wish that this chapter wasn't true. I just finished watching Tekking's review on it. And he was trying to do this. Once again, he has to monetize. The best part about this is that I don't. Because I don't make money on YouTube, because not enough of you like me. And which is fair. A lot of people don't like me. But this chapter has a lot of implications that, once again, Oda cannot bring up. We know what happens in the Holy Land. We know what happens with Celestial Dragons. We know what happens... We know what happened to the Boa sisters. And Kuma is Bonnie's stepdad. Dragon, and a lot of people, I've already seen the memes, and I think it's a sort of an unfair statement that a lot of the comparisons are going down right now from this chapter. That Luffy went to Enies Lobby, didn't give a shit to save Robin, but Dragon, after 2 years, didn't go save Ginny. Because 2 years, by the way. And this is a very hard topic chapter, because anybody with reading comprehension knows what's implied, and when I say I was wrong, I thought that this meant that Kuma got to live a very happy life. I remember saying that at the end of not this last chapter, but the chapter before, that Kuma was happy for decades. Kuma lived a really good life for decades. He lived maybe 10, 15 years happy. Maybe 12 years. Oh, and then another... Like 12 years actually happy, and then maybe another 5 or 6 okay. But I was naive, and I thought that the man had like 3 decades of happiness, you know, with his wife Ginny and daughter Bonnie and stuff, and ruling the Sorbet Kingdom and all that stuff. Was it wrong of me, once again, like, nobody's going to call me out on this, because was it wrong of me to hope that Kuma actually had some happiness in his life? Was it wrong of me to hope for that? You know? This chapter, like, I'm not super emotional about this chapter, but after reading people's emotional attachment to Kuma and reading people's personal experience, and this chapter being very heavy, very deep for a lot of people, for a lot of the implications of what's going on, and what it means to a lot of people because of real life situations and stuff, that's got me not down in the dumps, just a little bit of melancholy, a little bit of let's take this a little more seriously this week. This chapter is not, like, that's why I think the memes, once again, are not funny anyways, but they're also insensitive, you know, in a way. And, I mean, there'll be so many trolls on the internet that are going to just say, like, oh, you're taking this shit too seriously, man. Well, I mean, you can say that. You know, it's just a manga, man. I mean, so is Berserk. Yeah. Do you want to talk about certain scenes in Berserk? Because we can go down that road. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's heavy themes in fiction. And the sad thing is they exist here as well. Great TV shows, great fiction, great manga, anime, everything exists in sort of this. A lot of them are usually very heavy, very deep, and usually speak to people because they go through similar experiences. There's a reason Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy were top of the charts for so long. Because they dealt with some real serious sad shit that people don't want to talk about. And this chapter of One Piece is doing that. A lot of people couldn't do what Dragon did. A lot of people couldn't do what Kuma did. A lot of people couldn't handle what Ginny went through. There is a lot of heavy implication in this chapter. And we know it's fact, but we can't talk about it, right? Because it's YouTube, for one thing. And number two, because it's shown in Jump. So you can't outright say it. I mean, once again, I could if I feel like it. Because once again, I don't monetize. But suffice it to say, people who say that Luffy going to rescue Robin and Dragon's inability to go rescue Ginny comparison is just the dumbest shit. I mean, once again, I see more parallels, and so many people fight me on this, Sanji fanboys generally, but people fight me on the whole Usopp leaving the crew versus Sanji leaving the crew and disrespecting the captain thing. That's more comparable than Dragon and this Luffy meme going around right now, in my opinion. I see the points on both sides, by the way, of the Sanji Usopp thing. I see both sides of it. And I sort of, I have a foot in both camps with that one. I see how it's different, but I also still see how it's the same. When it comes to the Dragon Luffy comparison right here, I'm seeing it absolutely not the same. I'm on one side of this. And it's the side that you're an idiot if you think that Luffy going to rescue Robin is the same as Dragon going to rescue Ginny. There's a couple of reasons for this. Is A, Dragon is the leader of the Freedom Fighters, the newly ignited Revolutionary Army. He was part of the Navy. We don't know what rank. Let's assume mid-rank. Let's assume like a captain or something, right? At the very least. Roughly around there. Maybe he was a rear admiral. I doubt he reached vice admiral by the time he left. But let's assume he was around there, right? And what he saw, he recognized what he knows about the world government, what he knows about this, whatever intel he has, he's like, yeah, and remember, he's the son of Garp. So Garp might have said some things, like he said to Luffy in passing, that most people aren't supposed to know, right? So Dragon is probably more informed than, let's say he was a commodore or a captain. He's probably more informed than 99% of them, right? And he left the Navy. So he has a fundamental understanding of how powerful Mary Joa is. Remember, his Revolutionary Army is there to literally take down an 800-year-old government. 800 years of government. Just so we're clear, the United States of America has only been around for about 2 centuries. Canada just celebrated 150 a couple of years ago. We aren't that old. 800 years. We're talking, the Roman Empire still being around, love. That's how strong. You imagine the Roman Empire succeeding for the last 8 centuries. This is not an easy feat. Sacrifices are going to be made. And bad shit's going to happen to good people. And from a pragmatist, from a leader who's actually going to stick to it, it's not possible to go save Ginny. Okay? It's not in his wheelhouse. Because Dragon's dream is not to become the Pirate King. Dragon's dream is to take down the Celestial Dragons. To take down the world government and their corrupt system. And marching into Mary Joa was not an option at that time. It would have destroyed their forces, and even if they hadn't all died, which they would have, he recognized that it would take time to build them back up, and they might not be in a better position. This has been the best position they've been in for a long time. For the sake of the many, you must sacrifice the one. That's the hard choices leaders have to make. It's really sad. Luffy is not a leader. He's a captain, but he's not a leader. He's not a world leader. It's a different, altogether argument. Luffy had nothing to lose by going to Enies Lobby, but by the people willing to go with him. If his dream of becoming the Pirate King died with him, then that was on him. But Luffy is out for himself in a more selfish goal. Luffy's out there to become king of the pirates. We don't know his true dream, by the way. We still don't know what it is. But he's there for a selfish goal. We can argue, and I'm not trying to shit on Luffy here, but he's there for himself. His goal. And if his goal aligns with going and pissing off the world government, wherever they may be, fine dandy. And if he fails, he fails. Regardless of main character plot armor. Dragon is not out for himself. Dragon is there for the people, to save the world. He can't be selfish, regardless of his own feelings. He can't be selfish. He has to be selfless to an 11 out of 10 degree. And that's the difference here when it comes to this. So, I know this is supposed to be a chapter review, but I mean, everybody's going to watch different chapter reviews. This is my review. My review is the people making that meme, because I've seen it on every One Piece Discord or a Discord that has One Piece content. I've seen the meme. It's in bad taste, and it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It's from people who have no reading comprehension whatsoever. Okay? You're morons. And even if you're like, yeah, but we find it stupid funny. Like, okay, then go watch an Adam Sandler movie. Go watch Stupid Funny. Like, go watch a Seth Rogen film going, you know? Like, go watch Stupid Funny. Go watch Superbad for the 900th time. You know, like, I don't know. Like, go watch a Jackass movie. Like, I'm sorry. I don't find that funny. You know? There's nothing funny about it. It's stupid because it doesn't make sense. Like, for something to be funny, not even stupid fun, for something to be funny or a meme to be funny or something to be made fun of, it has to be funny in the context of the actual story. When it doesn't make sense, if you had a one brain cell realize that it doesn't make any sense, then the meme falls apart because it's not a meme and now it's just stupid. So, yeah. I felt the need to rant about that basically for this review, because the review is, we all know what happened. It's absolutely tragic. Kuma basically threw himself into his work and just was unable to, of course, rescue Ginny. Ginny finally actually escapes. Well, she doesn't escape. She's thrown to the wayside because of some sapphire scale disease that I don't believe we've ever heard of in the story. And then Ginny ends up going back to, of course, the Sorbet Kingdom. Kuma immediately, and it's incredibly tragic, Kuma's like, no, I'm going to be right there. You're going to be fine. I'm going to be right there. She knows where she would go and rushes forward and tries to get there in time, of course. But the Pawpaw Fruit isn't instant transmission from what we understand, so we don't know exactly when he showed up. I don't believe there's a timestamp for it, but he showed up way too late. And the tragic thing is that he didn't hear the final message of, I love you, I always have, and I always will. You know, he didn't. I mean, once again, they never got married or anything like that, but of course, Kuma knows. Kuma loved Ginny, and Ginny loved Kuma. I believe Kuma knows that. But Kuma never got to hear it. And yeah, I understand why this chapter is incredibly emotional for a lot of people. Oda cannot have a happy backstory. God damn. He cannot write one. I don't believe he ever wants to, and I don't believe he could if he tried. There'd still be tragedy in a happy backstory. So we don't get to see how exactly crazy it is, but it's exposure to the sun that's what caused it. And Kuma gets there and he's just completely devastated by it. Then he finds out about the rape baby. Yeah. Once again, I don't monetize, so I doubt that'll be taken down for this. That's what Bonnie is. And Kuma can't get any better than this. Recognizes that. Once again, Ginny and him, had he accepted long ago, like, we can get married, we can have kids and stuff, they would have kids of their own. Kuma doesn't harp on that, doesn't think about that, and Kuma just takes Bonnie in, and I'm your dad now. And I'm sorry, guys, it takes a really special... We can portray this in fiction and TV and all this stuff. But in real life, it takes a real man to be able to do it. I mean, I'm stressed out just thinking about that. Like, that's hurting me. That's making me emotional right now. Like, to selflessly love that child, that innocent child, by the way. On paper, it sounds like a no-brainer, but emotional turmoil is a scary fucking thing. And the amount of willpower, the amount of selflessness you need to have to be able to take that in and never show it to the child, to never. Just damn. It takes a great man. Not a good man, a great man to do what Kuma's doing here. And yeah, it's, I guess, easy to depict such greatness in fiction, but so many people can't do it. I don't know if I could do it. I really don't. I'd like to think I would. We all like to think, of course we do what Kuma would do. But put yourself in his shoes. Really think about it. You know? And it I'm sure it's a lot harder than we want to believe. On paper, it's easy to say, yeah, I would fight this guy. You know, when push comes to shove with any situation, like, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves. Well, when they stand in front of you, do you? Or do you back down? You know, people are brave on the internet. People are brave in the written word. People are brave on paper. They're not as brave and bold in reality. So, I say all this to praise Kuma for what he's doing here, because it takes a great man. And now Kuma has become one of the best characters in the series, bar none, by the end of this chapter. And then he takes in Bonnie. They bury Ginny. And Kuma is just, you know, trying to raise Bonnie as best he can, as absolutely best he can. And he's just over the moon with her and all this stuff. It's amazing. So he goes, basically, he fights for weeks, you know, weeks on end with his pawpaw fruit being able to jump to things. He fights for the revolutionaries as a tyrant, and he raises Bonnie. This is why Bonnie says, my father was not a tyrant. My father was a good man and stuff, because, of course, he was here with Bonnie, you know, being with her and fucking being the kind-hearted Kuma we know that he is, but in the meantime, he was being the destroyer of the Revolutionary Army, one of the three pillars. So, it's sort of one of those you don't know the real Kuma situations. We do get a brief thing of Sabo there. Once again, Sabo's not my deal, that's other people's deal, so it's not me. Of course, what happens is the sapphire scale sickness that Ginny had, Bonnie inherits, and it starts to appear on her cheek as a sapphire and stuff, and it's below her eye and stuff. And once again, exposure to the sun causes it, so he keeps her indoors, no sunlight, blah blah blah, boards up all the windows of the church. And as Bonnie gets older and stuff, Dragon, Kuma says, you know, I know it's the right thing to do. I'm going to leave you for right now, Dragon. I need to stay by her side. Like, I got to leave the Revolutionary Army. So he worked for years for Dragon. Dragon has his tattoo, of course, at this point. I believe he already did previously, but anyways. And he, in last chapter and stuff, and then he says, I'll send you, whenever we find the best doctors, we'll send you the best doctors and stuff. And sends multiple doctors looking at it. Finally, one of them depicts what it is and stuff like that, and of course they've made it known to be that she's really pretty because it's the jewels in her face. It's your jewels. They're just jealous because you've got such pretty jewelry and stuff. And then they talk about all the places they're going to go. They're going to go to Fishman Island, Sky Island on 19th birthday, 20th birthday. They're going to go to all these wonderful places. And then they talk about Nika and stuff like that, and Kuma has been nothing but a great dad. Then finally one doctor who shows up basically says you almost never see it anymore. So once again, this is something that probably Ginny contracted in the Holy Land, because it's probably a rare disease that you almost never see anymore, because I'm sure up there with their helmets on and stuff, they're exposed to, there's a bunch of, you know, like, I don't know, that, like, I feel like there's ancient diseases up in Mary Joa that haven't been annihilated, because what they do the moment somebody gets it, they kick them out, you know, sort of quarantining them down to the lower realms rather than trying to cure it, sort of idea. So it's a died out illness on the normal blues, on the normal sea, but not in Mary Joa, sort of idea. And that's how Ginny contracted it, and clearly it's hereditary of some description. I'm using that word right? Hereditary, yeah, hereditary means, or genetic, you know, like it's passed down, it's potential, you know, you have a higher risk of breast cancer if your mom has breast cancer, sort of idea, that kind of deal. Or diabetes, it runs in the family, that kind of shit. So, and then he says basically she's only got a few more years to live, like 10th birthday tops. And Kuma's just absolutely devastated. And the way Bonnie overhears it is sort of the wrong deal. And then Kuma basically ends up going along with the lie. It means Bonnie misinterpreted as the way Kuma and the doctor were talking and stuff like that, is that Bonnie will be cured by the time she's 10. So she can go anywhere. Not that she's, like, the disease is going to take her life by the time she's 10. So, whoa, baby. A lot to take in and stuff. And then, of course, 16 years ago, that asshole king is coming back, and it's just going to be brutal. And I believe, of course, this is where Kuma becomes the king of the Sorbet Kingdom officially at this point. Yeah. And I'm assuming he becomes a warlord and a king around the same time, which a lot of people are saying, well, you know, Bonnie's only so many years old, meaning it's only a few more years before the present storyline, like, and I'm like, well, a lot can happen in that amount of time, and we don't know. Obviously, her age fruit power must have cured, I'm assuming something to do with the devil fruit must have cured the sapphire scale, or something else happened. Maybe that's why he decided to become a warlord and work for the world government and do whatever the world government said. Maybe the Gorosei said, oh, well, Kuma, how about this? We have the cure for the sapphire scale. That's my theory right now. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, well, the age fruit must make her basically sort of immortal. She keeps juggling her years so that the sapphire scale doesn't, basically it's dormant in a way. Like she's eventually going to die, but she's able to juggle her lifespan in a way because of the age powers. I'm more under the impression that the Gorosei, maybe Saint Saturn himself, has the cure for the sapphire scale, or at least a delayer drug, something that Vegapunk made it. Who knows? He goes, work as a warlord and do everything we say, and we'll give it to you. You can save Bonnie's life in exchange. You work for us until you die. That's my theory. I'm taking that bet over the fact that the devil fruit miraculously cured everything. I'm taking the idea that it was, and that would explain why Kuma worked as a warlord without complaint, did everything he was asked, became a cyborg, did everything. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below, because chapter 1098 of One Piece was that was heavy. Let's be real. That was a heavy ass chapter. So, what do you guys think? We'll be back here for 1099 for the next piece of One Piece. There's a break next week. Don't know how long it is because Oda didn't actually finish this chapter. There was a little bit of sketchy art. It looked fine. That JJK chapter was way worse than this. So it looked alright, and there was 3 chapters in a row. It's fine. It's One Piece. Oda can do 2 chapters a month, and I'd be fine with it. You know, he can do 1 chapter a month. I'm fine with it. You know, because he wants to put 30 pages worth of work into 19 pages all the time. You know what I mean? So, it's fine with me. So, anyways, and it didn't look near as bad as people were saying it was going to. So, but anyways, that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys back here, hopefully for the end of Kuma's life flashback, because not the end of Kuma's life, but the end of his flashback, because at this point, I mean, can it get any worse? I mean, I have faith in Oda. He can make it all worse, but I really want just Kuma to... Can Kuma catch a goddamn break? Please?